All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to say, call on Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawahshai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash. Giving all praises to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawahshai, my Father in heaven, the King of kings, the Lord of lords, the God of gods. Much love to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawahshai, his beautiful and only begotten Son. Hallelujah to the Lord, hallelujah. It's another beautiful day. Shout out to the elect, the chosen ones, whoever they may be among Israel. Much love to the prophets that's putting in the work 24/7. You know, they out there on the highways and byways letting people know the good news. You know, they doing everything in their power to show you how about Shem Yahushua they fear and they love him, and they doing everything they can to help Israel. You know, before these times hit. Much love to the prophets that's not a part of a group. They solo, they not a part of a camp. They might have a friend or two that's out there doing it. They might be by themselves. Much love to them prophets, them the strongest ones. You know, can't trust the camps too much nowadays. You know, whether they, you know, getting the money tax-free, tax breaks, or, you know, they preaching the wrong message, believing it's the right message. So no groups is recommended. You better off going out there by yourself or with a friend, you know, or 99% out of 10, out of 100, you better off going by yourself, you know. So shout out to those brothers and them prophets that's doing that. Shout out to the Aquaf, the beautiful women, the Akim and the Akim, the brothers that's in the truth. Much love to you. Shout out to the beautiful women that's in the truth. It's not a lot of y'all beautiful women, you know, that's in the truth. And whether you got a man or not, you still fear the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahushai. You listen and you learn in silence. Coming back at you with another episode through the power and spirit of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahushai and the name Yahushai. And today's lesson is the true identity of today's title of the lesson is the true identity of the Lord, the true identity of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahushai and his son Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawahshai. And the truth about the Bible is that the Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahushai is a dark-skinned, melanated being. And so is Yahawahshai, his only begotten son, and the angels in heaven, and his people, which are the angels on the earth. You know, the Bible. You know, and we gotta always recap this. And I got a lot of love for a lot of my people that's just waking up. You know, they waking up to knowing who they are. You know, they now more than ever. The truth about the image of the Israelites, you know, is coming out. You know, Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahushai is not an author of confusion. You know, he not a father of lies or nothing like that. He tell the truth, and the Bible is a true book. And a lot of the stuff that's coming out of the Bible is representing the true image of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahushai, his son, the angels, and the true image of the Israelites. And yes, they are dark-skinned beings. They are melanated. You know, right now it's the prophecy is the confusion of face. So they could be many ethnics, many other races of people. You know, through the seed of an Israelite forefather. You know, so you got a lot of the people that don't know that they Israelites scattered among the nations. You know, yeah, that's true. You even got Israelites that's white. You know, through the forefather seed. Just because it's their skin color, that doesn't mean that they're not an Israelite. You know, that doesn't mean that they can't be regrafted in. You know, that right there is a part of that. I wanted to add that, but ultimately, you know, in the beginning, in the past, and in the ancient times in the Bible, we had a different skin color. We were much darker, you know, due to the extremity of the sun and the ultraviolet rays that come from it. It can be harmful if your skin is not adapted enough to take it in, you know, or deal with the sun. You know, in Africa is very hot. You know, you got the Sahara Desert, the Sea of Sand. You know, you got the different parts of Africa that's just a lot of desert, a lot of space. You know, and it could be very, very hot. So back in those times, the Israelites was black like the ground, and we gonna get that. We gonna get that right now. This is Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 12. It says, Judah mourneth, and it says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. It says, they are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. So that right there is telling you, this, the true image of the Israelites. And that's exactly, the Lord is going to keep, throughout the entire Bible, it's many names of different shades of the ground. No, that's not the name. I forgot the other name, but it's many names that refer to the true image of the children of Israel. Hold on. This is in Ecclesiastic 31, chapter 31, verse 24. It says, but against him that is a niggard of his meat, the whole city shall murmur, and the testimonies of his niggardness shall not be doubted of. So that is another one that is referring to the children of Israel. We're going to get another one. It's not referring to the children of Israel, but it's referring to a stubborn person, an ignorant person, you know? And that's what the white man is. He's the new nigger, you know, the new nigger, you know, ignorant, you know, don't listen. They do whatever they want, and that's just what they are. But, you know, the byword for us right now today is nigger or niggard back in that time. And it actually refers to a dark-skinned person, you know? And the word nigger appears a lot of times, you know, and it could refer to the white man today, and it could refer to an ignorant black person, you know. And I'm just giving you certain examples and certain things that refer to the children of Israel and yahawahshai. That when the Lord speak of them, they dark-skinned people. They are black people, you know. And anybody, that's why if you don't read the Bible and you listen to somebody that's teaching the Bible and they don't got no Bible, they speaking out of their mind and their feelings and all that, that is not accurate. Because they lying, because you got to really sit there and actually read the Bible and study the Bible to get an understanding. And like Yahawah said, the turning of the way of the simple shall slay thee. And it was too easy to understand this Bible and too easy to get the breakdowns now that the word is everywhere. For you not to have it is ridiculous nowadays. For an Israelite not to know, for a black person or a nigga, no, a black, the Indians, Mexicans, the Indians, Mexicans, And no, the niggas, the Mexicans, and the Indians, and any other ethnic that come through the forefather seed of these groups that don't know that they're Israelite by now is shameful, you know. And you got to understand that, and the Lord just gonna keep pointing it out, keep making it plain and simple. And then you got all these other groups talking about that it's not true, and that's not what the Lord said. And then you look into the Bible and it says those exact words, and then they'll turn around and be like, oh well, the Bible was written by a bunch of men. Then why would all these men be in one agreement of what yahawahshai looked like, and his son, and what these angels look like, and the true image of the children of Israel? Why would they all be in one agreement? If the enemy was the enemy, then why? Well, I mean, being a real enemy, it erased all traces of this. But you know, these elites actually did want us to know who we really are, because they could have easily took that Bible and burnt it and destroyed all traces of us a long time ago. You know, so. You know, with that being said, you know, part of the elites is the lie and the truth, and it's all in plain sight. You know, so, you know, your enemies had wrote about the true children of Israel, and they know what they look like, they know who they are, they know where they are, you know, they know that they yahawahshai's people, God's people. You know, so it's just like, when you say something like that, it's hard to still dispute, it's hard to dismiss it, because these people is writing about the children of Israel. These people are obsessed with the Bible and with the whole religion. I mean, not the religion, with the truth as a whole. And they put that down there on purpose. If it wasn't, it's not an accident that they wrote this, you know, because the prophets, they had wrote it all, you know, but the elites allowed it to still be there. No matter how many times they tried to put their little own spins, and certain precepts and certain lines are made up, you know, the message is still clear. They couldn't destroy the entire message, bro. Come on now. Here's another one. It says, the King James Version, Isaiah 32, verse 6, another example of Israelites being black. It says, for the vile person will speak villainly, and his heart will work iniquity. It says, and to purchase hypocrisy, and to utter against Yahawah, to make an empty the soul. It says, the empty of the soul of the hungry. It says, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. Oh, so they got two different versions where the word nigger was removed from the King James Version, because you see that these people that was playing with the Bible, like I said, it's a lot of stuff that's added that's not real, and it's a lot of stuff that's taken away. So we go to Isaiah 32, verse 6 of 1599 Geneva Bible. It says, but the niggard will speak of niggardness, and his heart will work iniquity and do wickedly, and speak falsely against Yahawah, to make empty the hungry soul, and to cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. So it's talking about the white man. But then you got niggas that do the same thing to their own people, you know? So that right there is pretty interesting, that they removed the word nigger a lot. So that word in the old Bibles, it would appear a lot more, you know, because it don't really appear too much in King James. It probably appear like 3 or 5 times in the Bible from what I've seen, you know, or 2 times in the King James Version for what I've seen. I probably don't remember. It probably appeared a little bit more, but yeah, you know, it's right in your face. And this is also from the mouth of yahawahshai himself. He's saying this, you know. He's telling you how his people are. He's telling you what his people do. He know where they are, you know. And if the Bible had pictures, even though they do got Bibles with pictures in them, but the Bibles is so corrupted to the point to where they put a whole bunch of white people instead of putting the true image of the Israelites, the true image of the Lord. You know, they didn't put none of that. They tried to whiten it out. And you got to use your imagination when you're reading it too. Like, come on now, you know that these people have been putting evident lies and certain firewalls, you know, that stop you from learning the truth. But ultimately, you know, if you use your imagination, you would begin to understand the true image of this. You know, the white man that made multi-millions off a lie. You know, he got everybody worshiping a lie. You know, it was this comedian named Godfrey on I think it's called Godfrey Comedy or whatever on YouTube, and he also pointed that out, which sparked this little debate. No, this little conversation that I'm having right now, and it was a bunch of Hamites, and they was kissing a white Jesus statue on the stomach, and evidently they don't care if the Jesus statue represent white supremacy, and that's not the true image of the Lord. They just, you know, it's kind of like just madness at this point. It's just fucking crazy that they would do something like that. It says, Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 3, it says, riches are not comely for a niggard, and what should an envious man do with money? So that's another example. And let me get an example of this one too. This is King James Version. It's Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 16. And this is what our people are doing, followed up to these false churches and these lies that they preaching and these things that they are doing, you know, and they sitting up there brainwashing people and gathering people to where the Lord isn't there. He's not there. It says King James Bible, it says, and he brought me into the inner court of Yahawah's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of Yahawah, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men. It says, with their backs toward the temple of Yahawah and their faces toward the east, and they worship the sun toward the east. So, and that's exactly what they do. You know, they worshiping a false god behind yahawahshai's back. You know, and then you got a lot of the Israelites that supposedly are true Israelites, and they are part of the word, they're part of the faith, and they still worshiping false idols and deities You know, they still allegiance with the white man and shadow government. They still worship money. Some of them still worship women. Some of them still believe that in white Jesus, you know, and they doing it behind Yahawah Bashim Yahweh's back, even though the Lord see everything. So let me see if I can get the full translation of that. And this is exactly this is what the Lord said, because the Lord see everything, man. It says this is Ezekiel chapter 8 verse 15 and 17. It says, then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? It says, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. It says, and he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of Yahawah, and their faces toward the east, and they worship the sun toward the east. And he says, then he said to me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah, that they may commit the abominations which they commit here? It says, for they have filled the land with violence, and have turned to provoke me to anger, and lo, they put the branch under their nose. So that right there is showing you that you know, you got the Israelites working with the white man, and they got these certain blockages, you know, and certain firewalls to keep you from getting to the truth. And regardless of the fact, you know, a double-minded man, that's a problem, you know. So you got them believing in Yahawah Shem Yahushai, and then some of them still secretly believe and worship white supremacy and a plethora of other things, you know. Some of them don't believe that Yahawah Shem Yahushai is who he is, you know, the melanated being, you know, his son is melanated. They don't believe it despite it being showed to them. So we're going to get that too. I need some more money. And then it says, this is John chapter 14. It says 8 to 10. It says, Philip said unto him, it says, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. And yahawahshai said to him, I been so long a time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? It says, he that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? That's right. Because yahawahshai and yahawahshai, they look similar in appearance. It says, believest thou not that I am the Father? It says, and the Father in me. It says, the words that I speak to you, I speak not unto myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the work. So he's telling you, like, if the Lord is black, then I'm black. You know, look, I'm the one that I'm his son. I'm the king of the universe. I'm the prince of the universe. You know, my Father is the king. If you've seen me, then you've seen him, and that's a deep message. Why? Because Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi do not dwell with men. He don't dwell with men, and we can't look upon the Lord, and because of his awesomeness, we could be destroyed looking upon that kind of power, and looking at him face to face is a sin, because the Lord is so clean. You know, so why not? You know, the Lord sent his son, which is pretty much a spitting image of him, and we can look upon yahawahshai and not be destroyed. That's the mercy of Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. That's the mercy of the Almighty. You know, that's his mercy and kindness. That way you can see me, and you won't see me in my full form, and it destroyed me. Now, the only one that can see the Lord is yahawahshai himself. You know, that's just the way it is. So now people want to get smart-mouthed and be like, why would I want to worship a God that I can't look at, or, you know, he doesn't even want to show himself to me, you know. Let me get that. Hold on. Because when you try to break it down to them, a lot of people, you know, a majority of people, they don't understand. You know, they don't comprehend the seriousness and the level of what they're dealing with, you know. A lot of our people don't understand. And then it's a double-edged, so the white man don't understand, and a lot of our people don't understand. It says, King James chapter 4 and 22, it says chapter 4 verse 22, it says, ye worship ye not know what. It says, and we know what we worship, for the salvation is for the Jews. And that also signifies the white man too, because the white man truly don't understand what he's playing with. He don't know the magnitude of what he's dealing with. He doesn't understand the extremity of these Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi and yahawahshai and the heavenly powers that follow. You know, he doesn't really understand the gravity of what's about to happen to him. You know, it's just something that you need to be there to see. You know, and at the same time, like the Lord say, bless those eyes that haven't seen me at all. You know, and still believe. You know, so those of us that know the truth, we believe, and those of us that know, those of us that understand, you know, the truth, we don't need to see Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi to know that he's there, you know. But this is also for our people too that ask ridiculous questions, or, you know, they mock the Lord, you know, and they do a lot of talk back, and, you know, a lot of sassiness and a lot of ignorance. You know, you truly don't understand the depth and the seriousness of who you are, and you don't understand Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. And how serious this whole game is right now, because the way the game is set up, y'all do look like the children of Israel. And the more and more, and when the prophecies that's manifesting in reality really start hitting and kicking in, it's gonna start scaring the shit out of these nations, and it's gonna start scaring the enemies of our people, you know, and they really gonna start. start looking more and more at the children of Israel, and really seeing them as an enemy, trying to get rid of them, trying to destroy us, trying to figure out a way to remove us. That way, they feel like if they get rid of the children of Israel or they kill them, you know, it will stop this apocalypse, this end of the world scenario. When that changes, that don't change nothing, you know. They like the Lord said, you don't understand what type of power you're dealing with. This is why they say the fear of Yahawah is the beginning of knowledge, but fools hate knowledge. You know, that's in Proverbs, I do believe, Proverbs chapter 1, Proverbs like verse 4, I think. I'm probably wrong, but that's around that range. You don't understand what's going on, you know. And for the Bible to say that, that's real. That's some scary shit, you know. That the Lord is Yahawah can be very terrifying, very terrifying. He's the king of terrors, man, and he is something that to be feared. In order to love the Lord, you got to fear him. You got to fear him. If you don't fear him, then you don't love him, you know. And yahawahshai, like they say, the Lord is the sword and the shield. He's fear. Fear is protection. It protects you. You know. That's why it was one of these things I was talking about to my brother. You know, and about children that don't fear their mothers or their fathers, or they haven't, or they grew up and they wasn't taught, or they wasn't punished. You know, or, you know, they didn't have nobody to fear. They growing up and they don't have that restriction of fear on them. You know, so they doing a lot of this crazy shit and life jeopardizing things. And, you know, they got to deal with serious consequences like death, you know, from the Lord, or in prison, you know, from yahawahshai. And they got to deal with all of these spirits and all of these manners of man-made monsters. You know, they got to deal with all kinds of things because there's consequences by you not having that fear, by you not being afraid, by, you know, you just having all this pride, you know, and having all this courage and all of that. You know, it could be a bad thing if it's not instilled in you. And if you don't fear the Lord, you know, the Lord is the covering. So without the Lord, you're exposed to all types of shit in this world that could destroy you, you know. And that gives Yahawah validation to send them upon you to destroy you. You know, and let me get that too. That was a good one. Hold on. This shit do not work at all. This is chapter 24. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 43 through 45. It says, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through thy dry places, seeketh rest, and findeth none. So this is what happens when you don't listen, or you don't change your life, and you don't see the signs, because the Lord ain't got to send no miracle. You ain't got to have no supernatural experience for the Lord to not send you signs that you're going in the wrong direction. Most importantly, belief, or, the way that you grew up, and certain things, like I said, like the removal, the fear, because the fear of the Lord is the covering. That's the protective blanket, It says, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. He says, then he says, I will return unto my house from whence I came out. And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. It says, then goeth he and taketh within himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. It says, and they enter and dwell there, and the last state of the man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation. So especially to these kids, and it makes it much worse. That's like a drug addict finally casting away a dangerous narcotic, something that they've been doing, and their bodies is finally clean, and it's finally, able for them to dwell in, but they not happy, they not happy about their condition, and they not satisfied, and they bored of being that way, and bored of being sober. So they go back and they do that same drug, and the drug is so powerful, and the drug make it worse to where they not only they could get into that, but they can get into multiple other drugs that can destroy their body, And I've seen it a lot through a lot of the Israelites, different curses that the Lord will lay upon you if you choose not to listen, And I done seen it a lot, like brothers that's doing weed. Next thing you know, they doing pills. Next thing you know, they doing cigarettes. Next thing you know, they drinking. And then they get to extremes. Now they doing crystal meth. Now they doing powder. Now they doing heroin. And it becomes like a full circle. So now you got all these spirits in you that you got to cast out, and it's hard to cast them out because there's so many of them. And they could come in the form of drug addictions too. It's so many of them that you trying to get rid of, that you trying to cast out, that it makes it nearly impossible to break this circle of habits that you set upon yourself. Because now you got to get rid of the cigarettes, you got to get rid of the meth, you got to get rid of the powder, you got to get rid of the pills, you got to get rid of the weed, you got to get rid of the drinking. And it's so difficult, man. It's extremely difficult. Just that, and then it destroys you. So you really done did some damage to yourself, and it's hard to put yourself back together because of that, Shalom, brother. Shalom. How you doing? You're Israelite, right? You're Israelite, right? Well, you're Israelite. Stay blessed, my man. Stay blessed. He don't believe, but it's okay. But yeah, man, and the state of a man is much worse, So, without that belief, without yahawahshai, you are exposed to a lot of shit that can destroy you, So we gonna get to Revelation. Right, and another thing that make a lot of common sense is that why would we worship something that is totally different from us? Wouldn't we want to worship somebody that looked just like us, that can understand our pain, you know, can understand our suffering. You know, they understand what we're going through. You know, it would make more common sense for our God to be black. It make more sense, you know, rather than our God to be white. And we've seen what what Esau, the God of the Edomites, do, because that's Esau. You know, Jesus Christ, the white Jesus Christ, is Esau. So we've seen what the God of how the God of the Edomites feel about us, and all they do is rape, rob, murder us, kill us, oppress us. You know, make fucked up laws against us, trying to plot a genocide on us. You know, we've seen what the God of Christianity feel about us. You know, but you know, you gotta have that understanding of, you know, the God of the Israelites and how he feel about his people. And what better way to understand that than the God to look just like you, have the same skin color like you, and he understands what we're going through, you know. All right, get to the feature scripture. We can start at Revelations chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they that also which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen." It says, "I am Alpha and Omega." It says, "I am the beginning of the end, saith the Lord, which is," or Yahweh says, "which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty." It says, "I, John, who is also your brother and your companion in tribulation, and in the faith of the and in the kingdom and the patience of yahawahshai." It says, "which is in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of Yahweh, and for the testimony of yahawahshai." It says, "I was in the spirit on Yahweh's day, and I heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet." It says, saying, "I am Alpha and I am Omega, the first and the last." It says, "What thou seest, write in the book, and send it to the 7 churches which are in Asia, also to Ephesus and Smyrna, and to Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea." It says, "And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle." It says, "And his head and his hairs were white like wool, and white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. His feet were unlike the fine brass if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters." So he is black. And he was looking at him from the feet up. From the feet up. And he said, "How you doing, brother?" I forgot to catch you. Couldn't catch you. And it was from the feet up. He was dark from the feet up. So, and when he looked at him, his eyes were as a flame of fire, and he was dark-skinned. So it kind of terrified him. But this is what yahawahshai said. It says, "In his right hand he had 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun in his strength. And when I saw him, I fell to his feet as dead, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore." Shalom, shalom, brothers. Y'all know y'all Israelites, right? Much love to y'all. Have a blessed day. Bless y'all, man. It says, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and death. It says, write the things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which are shall be hereafter. The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in the right hand. And it goes into the promises of Israel and the prophecy of them being the chosen people. 7 stars represent Israel. 7 candles represent Israel. Yeah, and the 7 churches represent the chosen of the Israelites. But pretty much, that is the true image of Yahawah yahawahshai, and that is the truth at the end of the day, and it's never going to change, and he's never going to change, so we're going to get to that too. This is Malachi chapter 3 verses 6. It says, for I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. That's right, because the enemy is praying to Yahawah yahawahshai that he destroy us and for our imperfections, for our wickedness, our sins and for our impurity, and just for us being a destroyed people, because we are destroyed people. We are destroyed, but we the chosen at the same time. So the Lord says, I never change, and I never will. I love, and through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the children of Israel. I loved you guys in the beginning, and I still love you guys now. It's never going to change. And this is Malachi chapter 3. We can read some of this. It says, behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. It says, and Yahawah, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, and even the messenger of the covenant, which is that new covenant. It says, whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith Yahawah, Lord of hosts. And this is talking about the prophets and them preaching the new gospel, the new covenant, the new promise. The good news, per se. It says, but who may abide the day of his coming? It says, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. It says, and he shall sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahawah an offering in righteousness. And it says, then he shall offer of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahawah as the days of old, and as in former years. And I will come near unto you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Yahawah. It says, for I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers ye are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. It says, return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Yahawah yahawahshai. But ye said, where shall we return? Right. So what they saying is that where is the Lord? You know, that's what they saying. How you doing, brother? Shalom to you, brother. I want to tell you, an Israelite, brother. Much love to you. Stay blessed. Much blessings, much blessings. So it says they say, where is the Lord? That's what they saying. And yahawahshai, like they say, the kingdom of heaven is within you. You know, you don't need to look far. You know, you don't need to look up. You need to look within you. The spirit of the Lord is within those that truly believe in yahawahshai. Well, all of the Israelites got the spirit of Yahweh in them. They ain't gotta go far. You ain't gotta go into no church. You know, you ain't gotta join no congregation. You ain't gotta look through all these books like the book of Kemet, or you know, the Emerald Tablets, or you know, you got them looking into other deities. You know, and looking into the wrong messages. You know, it's a lot of ways, you know, that can stray you from the path. You know, you hear the prophets, you hear the word of yahawahshai. You know, you go and you read the Bible for yourself. Boom, it was that simple. It's never too far. You know, it's not per se even difficult to understand. Now, you got precepts and certain things that's hard to understand without the proper teachings and breakdowns, but ultimately, like the Lord said, it's pretty simple. You know, if you want to know more, you know, you can listen to the prophets, let them break it down to you, but ultimately, you'll get the message. So, you know, with that being said, let me get to one more. This one is deep, because this is true. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 through 14. It says, the Passion Translation. It says, Eve entered through the narrow gate, because the wide gate and broad path is the way that leads to destruction. Nearly everyone chooses the crowded road. It says, the narrow gate and the difficult way leads to eternal life. So few even find it. So that is the truth. You meet a lot of prophets that be by themselves. You know, some of them be in a cut. You know, like me, I'm just sitting on the side of the sidewalk. I'm just sitting right here by this little heater box, you know, and happen to surprise you and pop up and tell you something like that. You know, that should be an extreme sign to get you to understand, like, you know, yahawahshai is trying to get your attention. And, you know, the prophets that's like that is the form of the narrow. We are the ones that's, well, I'm not much of a prophet, but, you know, I'm still helping, you know, but it's the prophets are the form of that narrow, because they got the truth, and that's the way, you know, containing to where everybody is going. There could be so many people, you know, going to the stores, you know, going to travel everywhere, and they ignore these cats that's on the side on the highways and the byways, trying to warn you and trying to tell you of the good news and the blessings. And then, you know, you got some of them that'll listen, and then you got some majority of them that don't. And that's what it's saying. A lot of you guys will listen and understand the truth. No, a lot of you guys won't listen and keep going about your day and ignore it. And then so few the ones that actually listen and heed that warning, you know, and acknowledge that, you know. But overall, at the end of the day, you know, it's not going to be a lot of prophets that a lot of people that get that word, you know, and it's okay, you know, like the Lord say, though they be the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. You know, it's a lot of Israelites. That's why the white man is trying to do what he's trying to do, because he's threatened by the populace, of the Israelites. You know, it's too many death rates in the white man society. You know, he's been overtaken. You know, global warming is not working again in his favor. You know, it's not working in his favor. Shit getting hot in certain places and shit. You know, the beauty of Israel is like the city on a broad hill. Everybody want to be a part of it. Everybody want to join us. You know, white man losing all his women. You know, women is having more children with Israelite brothers. You know, because brothers they stay in shape due to genetics and all sorts of other things. You know, so he's very threatened about who we are and about the strength, because it's strength in numbers. You know, that's what terrified the nations more. You know, and the fact that the truth of the matter is we scattered through all the nations. We covered the entire world. You know, and we cover America like it ain't shit. So it's gaining the attention of our enemies with these prophecies and with the truth of who we are. You know, and the Lord is going to keep reminding us. And like you said, the sand of the sea, the sand is brown. Like I said, we come in different shades of brown. You know, we like the speckled bird. You know, there's so many other examples of the Lord referring to his children as being, you know, dark-skinned, black. You know, and he keeps reminding, and he keeps reminding you, you know. So, you know, that's amazing. That's beautiful. That's awesome. You know, and I can get one more. It says, Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5 through 6. It says, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, and as the curtains of Solomon. Look upon me, because I am black, because the sun have looked upon me. It says, my mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. Yet another example of yahawahshai and his son yahawahshai saying that they are melanated beings. And that will wrap it up. And with that, call on Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi, by Hashem Rakakwadash. It was a nice little day today. You know, some of these people, you know, this road be kind of dry, so I don't get a lot of people. But, you know, when I get them, you know, I get them. And I'm thankful for Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi sending me people to at least let them know of the beautiful news. And, you know, get another one in. And with that, call on Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi and the name Yahawashi. And it's on to the next. Shalom.